Welcome to the Video Creator Show. I am your host, Grant, and this, of course, is a podcast where we talk the ins and outs of how to build a YouTube channel or really an online presence in general. Today, I'm speaking with Shawnta of Shawnta's Way. She is making videos about hair health, inner health, and lifestyle tips. She's been on YouTube for quite a while now, with over 200,000 subscribers and over 21 million total channel views. Shawnta also has her own line of products and has been featured in Vogue and Vanity Fair, and she is just getting started. I'm stoked to be talking with her about how she built it all, but first, the Video Creator Show is brought to you by VidChops.com. That is an editing service that helps take the burden of editing off your back. Check out VidChops.com to see how you can save yourself tons of time and energy while taking your YouTube channel to the next level. Now that we got that out of the way, Shawnta, thank you so much for joining me today. So you've been on YouTube for quite a while. You have some videos that are 7 years old, and it's what has that been like, kind of being on YouTube over the years? Because the platform has evolved a lot, and I know you have some videos on TikTok. So I'm sure your kind of online career has taken a big trajectory. Like, what would you say is like the biggest difference between being on YouTube, say in 2014 versus in 2023?
And the biggest difference definitely is going to be the kind of like the amount of time that I put into videos. I think in 2014, I just made videos. I really didn't care about lighting or any of the other technical stuff that people start out with now. Whereas now I'm just like, I had to have my lighting right. I just bought like a different camera that shoots in 4K. Like everything has to be like great. So I think that's the huge difference for me is just that I once started out not really caring about my quality or anything else, and I was just filming, whereas now it's like it's a whole day of like just making sure that everything's perfect and scheduling out my videos and things like that. So it's become more of a career, whereas at first it was such a hobby and I really just threw on the camera and just started talking.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that's a natural progression for YouTube as well. Because especially when you have no subscribers, you're not necessarily expecting anyone to see it. It kind of makes sense to just put something out there and not be too concerned with the overall production quality. But then as it grows, things you learn a thing or two or three or four, and it becomes easier to kind of tweak your videos, make those incremental improvements. So you have a line called Nourished, and you kind of have your own set of products that you sell. What is the process of making something like this? Now, obviously, your following is very much based around kind of how to take care of your hair and health overall, so it kind of makes sense for you to have these products. I'm sure that helped sort of establish a business model, shall we say. But what was it like creating it? Like, was it difficult? How long did it take? Who did you have to call? Walk us through it.
Yeah, so initially when I first started like making products and just giving people products and things like that, it was just me by myself, and I was just creating it on my end based off of just things that I did in my free time anyways. I went to I actually made a video and it blew up. That was the video that actually blew up, where I was, showing people how to make growth oil and just like talking about how I actually, grew my hair with that oil. And a lot of people were like, oh, okay, don't want to make this myself. Could you like start selling it? And that went on for like, those comments went on for like maybe 2 years before, because I had a job at that time that was outside of YouTube, and I just didn't really want to do both of them. And I decided to do it when I actually was in 2017, when I actually was able to do it and have time for it, and YouTube started to become way more serious. And my sister was helping me, and it was still overwhelming, but I ended up putting it out, and people took to it. I had 25 bottles, and I did a video, which is still on my YouTube channel, where I was telling people, hey, I am selling this growth oil. You guys can get it if you want, and just email me if you want a bottle. And I thought that like maybe like two people or like just a couple of people would email me, but I woke up to over 100 emails, and I only had 25 bottles.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So I sold out of those bottles, of course, and I had to email each person individually and let them know, like, I don't have any more. And the emails just kept coming and kept coming. So I actually put the video on unlisted because it was getting way too overwhelming.
It's a good
And
problem to have.
yeah, yeah. So my sister was like, "No, you can't quit. You can't quit." And like everyone around me was like, "No, you can't quit." So in 2018, actually a company reached out to me. They would see my, I didn't know that they did, but they would see my live streams where I was telling people like, I don't have the time to do this anymore. So they actually reached out to me and was like, hey, we'll do it for you. We have you like a team built out and everything. And I actually went into that with like a team for the brand and everything. Like they had everything laid out, which I thought was amazing. But now in the business and kind of like here today, I'm like, oh, that's not amazing. You kind of want to like build your own team and start step by step instead of just like throwing it all to someone else and letting them have the creative control and all this stuff. So actually in 2019, I scrapped that whole ideal. I was with that ideal for a whole year, and I started to do everything myself. I had to build my team like a like you would, just like interviewing people and things like that. And instead of having everything just like kind of placed in my lap, I had to like work for everything and come up with the recipes and talk to people. So that's kind of how the steps went. So it went from actually me being overwhelmed from doing it, then being able to just put it off on someone else, and then realizing, wait a minute, I want my products and want my business back,
Right.
and taking it back. And then, so that's where I am. I've been doing that since 2019, and I absolutely love this way, and I would never go, the other route again, but it was a good learning curve for me.
Right, and it sounds like it kind of got you started down the path of like scaling up, selling your own products, and it's kind of like, do you think that it sparked you, and you maybe wouldn't be doing it if that company hadn't reached out to you, or do you think you would have ended up doing this anyway?
Yeah, I think that just exactly what you said. Like, if I wouldn't have worked with that company and kind of like seen, like, okay, this is actually something I like doing, this is actually possible, then I definitely would have just been on that same, you know, chapter that I was on, where I was just on and off with my subscribers, where they didn't know if they were going to get the product one day to the next, because I would be like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. And so it definitely helped with me being consistent and just knowing that I can do it myself. And yeah.
hmm And so, can you walk us through how you built your team? Because that seems like kind of a difficult thing to do. Like, where do you find people? How do you vet them? Like, what is the process of kind of building everything yourself from the ground up?
Yeah, so I was able to talk to first beginning out, I was able to talk to someone at Indeed.com. And I guess like, like having YouTube does give you like kind of like a little bit more leverage a little bit. But you still have to like, find these people and sell your business to these people. So that they know, okay, this is a serious business, and I had to be serious about this business. This is just not like some YouTube fun business to do.
Right.
So yeah, so I actually talked to someone at Indeed, and they told me, kind of like coach me through how to build a team. But I only did that for like the first beginning where I was working with Indeed, and then I went on to actually not for say working with freelancers, but I kind of like was talking to freelancers and able to get into the door just by networking and connecting with people who did their own business. So, for example, like an assistant, instead of me going to like Indeed to find that assistant, I was able to network through friends and find who they were connecting with, and then we just would just work together. So I was able to like find people who, I guess you would say freelance, but they have their little business, and then they're able to like connect you with people and things like that. So I think networking is super important when it comes to building your brand. You have to like kind of network with people, and that will get you into this door and that door, and like just different doors will just continue to open. So yeah.
Hmm. Right. That makes sense. Like who you know and your ability to find new people is so important, and
Yeah.
it's just as important as what you know. So I'm curious, like the products you have. Obviously, there's oils. It's hair care products. These seem like something that isn't that simple to make necessarily. So I know a lot of YouTubers who they'll sell a book, and obviously that process is kind of its own thing in and of itself. But I
Hmm.
can sort of imagine you talk to a publisher, they print the book, and it's something along those lines. Like how do you large scale manufacture these hair products and make sure that they're still what you want them to be?
Yeah, so it's definitely just developing a relationship with the manufacturer before you just go with the manufacturer, because there's like a lot of manufacturers out there. And I actually went through the process of trying to find a manufacturer at first that would be on the same thought process as me when it came to products, because there were some manufacturers that would say like, oh, we can do this in a quicker way, but we can't make like teas from scratch, and we can't do your products this way. And I wanted them to be a certain way. I wanted them to be very natural, but as well be able to sustain of staying on a shelf. So I had to like, kind of like do my research and talk to different manufacturers and pass up some that were, per se, like really good, but not on the same type of wavelength as me. So I had to like kind of like take my time, find manufacturers, and then when I found that manufacturer, I had to talk to the formulator and let them know that I want to be involved in this process too. How does this work? Do you guys do this? Well, at my house, I actually do it this way. Can you guys do this in there? And then they tell you, oh yeah, we can do that in the manufacturer. So just finding like a manufacturer and a formulator that is actually going to be able to make your products in the way that you would be able to make them yourself, but like in a more scientific way and going through the chemistry way and things like that. Yeah. Um, just finding something that works for you and doesn't go outside of like your moral of how you want things done.
Right. And I'm sure it. Did you ever feel pressured to kind of do things a way you maybe didn't want to, like because it's kind of business at the end of the day. So I'm sure some of these companies were like, "Oh, well, that's wrong. You're wrong. Do it our way instead." And if so, kind of how did you deal with it? Like, do you have any advice for standing your ground and kind of keeping to your values?
Yeah, so definitely when I was first starting out, that was something that I dealt with a lot. And that was more so of me having to kind of like say, well, I won't work with you. Just flat out. And it's like, wow, like, you can't, you feel like, oh, I can't turn down like these companies. They know what they're talking about. Like, I don't know like the science part of it or anything, but you have to trust yourself and know that, yeah, you may have needed help, but you didn't get this far from just like not knowing anything. So from
Hmm.
some degree, you have to trust yourself and know that you do have a sense of what you want, and someone out there can actually fulfill that for you. So just kind of like just staying firm on what you believe in and not doing it in the way to where it's rude or where you're coming off like you know everything, but at the same time having someone that can meet you kind of halfway on what you are wanting for your brand, because it's going to be super important as you grow and realize that it's really, really important to have like these set values and core values for your brand and to stick to them, or your branding is going to be all over the place.
Right. And so, speaking of which, like once you have the product and you're able to manufacture it and you're happy with all of that, then comes actually pitching it and making your audience aware that this is available for purchase now. So, how did you go about talking about it? Like, or rather, do you have any advice? Like, I'm more looking for your philosophy. You know, I've
Mhm.
kind of seen you talk about it, but the sort of in your own mind, like, what advice do you have for somebody to talk about their own product? Maybe it's something they're working on in a way that isn't intrusive, but is still authentic.
Yeah, so I think that a way to talk about your product where you're not like just giving everything out, but still being, you know, authentic and coming across like you're giving your customers or your community what they need to know about your products is just to kind of stick to like the key talk points of the product. So if it's for me, you know, I sell hair products. So if it's a hair product, most people want to know what's the benefit of that using that product. Why do they need to invest in your brand, and why do they need to trust you? And so finding that sort of like key talking points are, I would say, like in business, you would say, or branding, you would say, unique selling point of why your product is something they should invest in over the thousands and thousands of products that are already out there. So for me, in my situation, my subscribers know that I went to school for holistic nutrition, and it was one of the largest. It's one of the largest holistic nutrition schools in the world, or it's in New York. And that was a really huge like selling point of my products because people already know that I know the holistic side of stuff. So when I say that I'm selling holistic hair care, they're like, "Oh, she already knows this. We can trust her."
Mm-hmm.
So just getting people to trust you and also letting them know like benefits of using your products and not just only focusing on like the ingredients, but more so like what is this going to do for the person that's going to invest in it.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I feel like the style of videos you make is really helpful for that too, because you know
Yeah.
you're giving advice on how to take care of your hair. You can use your own products, and it seems all very natural, like it kind of flows. And that wasn't even a part of the plan from the beginning. It sounds like it just sort of evolved naturally, which is is always kind of the easiest way to do things, right? And
Right.
I'm glad it evolved so smoothly. Um, so my next question is, what is what is your golden rule for making videos? Like, do you have a kind of overall philosophy that guides you, or is it kind of just, oh, this would be interesting, I'll post that? Like, yeah, what is your kind of overall overarching philosophy for your YouTube channel or any social media platform?
Is to be honest, a lot of what has got me far is just, I know this sounds really cliche, but it's just been authentic to who I am. So, yes, I do hair videos, but my audience also knows that I love health and nutrition. So there are some videos that there's sometimes where I'll throw videos in there that are more like health focused. And there's like a a smaller amount of people who are interested in that or subscribers that are interested in that. But if I was to just, and I've tried this before, if I was just to do hair only and not put the nutrition part in there, it actually becomes boring for me,
Mm.
and it becomes all unauthentic to me because at the same time of hair, I absolutely love nutrition. So my philosophy is that, you know, I am 100% open to, you know, listening to my audience and put videos out there for the audience. But I also kind of break the YouTube rules sometimes and I post what I want to post when it comes to stuff that I'm just genuinely interested in. Um, so and that comes together to me as being a philosophy of just staying true to who I am, even though not everyone, not my entire audience is going to be interested in that.
Yeah. So the my next question for you is, so a big part of you and your brand and who you are is using natural ingredients and kind of natural products, and you went to school for this. And I think this is honestly a really big movement that's happening right now. So I was wondering if you could sort of speak to the importance of this. Why do you believe in it? Why do you think people are reacting so well to it?
Yeah, I think that with natural products, I believe in it so much just because I've seen the results of it in my own personal life. I mean, I started with the more natural lifestyle in 2014. I started to research it a lot, and then 2015, I really started to like get into it and really go hard with like using natural products. And I was almost at the end of it where it was way too much. So I actually went to the extreme, and I feel like that is like the driving point is just seeing that it actually worked in my life, and also people around me, like friends and things like that, who I've like kind of talked into it or not talked into it, but they've kind of like seen me do it, so they have questions, and then they start to live it, do incorporate different things into their lifestyle, and I see the effects on them. So just seeing the effects and the benefit that it's brought to me has made me want to tell others about it. And I think that the craze that's going on right now, where like everyone wants to kind of like do more of the natural way. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people say that it's bandwagon. I don't think that. I think that naturally, just everyone's starting to wake up and want to do better, and it's just the progression of where this world is going, and I think that
Hmm.
is great. I love seeing it.
Yeah, me too. And so, holistic is the word. And what
Mhm.
was it like going to school for this? Like, how does that work? Because for anybody interested, like, what, how do you go about applying for that? How long does it take? What do you learn exactly? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, so with the school that I went to, which is the one I'll speak in regards to, I wanted to give the exact. So yeah, it's still in New York. So it's the Institute of Integrated Nutrition. That's the school that I went to, and the founder of that school, um, I don't even I don't remember his name, but if you guys just research the
So good.
yeah, if you guys just research that school, you will be able to go to that website and find the actual founder. But he is awesome because with that school, um, they don't just gun ho on one way of living. They have like hundreds and hundreds of different ways of living. So it really is for everyone. Um, no matter where you are on the spectrum of natural living and holistic living. And the way that I went about signing up for that school is just I went to their website, talked to one of their advisors, and I went back and forth with them for at least 3 months, just
Oh
continuously.
wow.
Yeah, I was just contacting them, and I was just doing research. I just was second guessing the entire thing, and then finally, I went ahead and invested into the school. They don't take, they do have like loans, but it's not like a thing where they'll take like student loans. You do have to like pay for the school, but they do have like um, payment plans and things like that if you want to do it that way. But yeah, I decided to just invest in it and go full force. And then I ended up going back in 2020 to do their detox course to learn more about uh, clean products because I was helping formulate products. So went back for that, and yeah, it's a really good experience, and it's something that everyone can kind of like do, even if they're not wanting to use it in their professional life. You can just learn from the school on a personal level as well. As I was saying, it's the school is amazing because even if you're not going to use it for your professional, career, you can actually just go if you're just curious about holistic medicine or holistic nutrition. If you just want to know more about that for your own personal benefit, there's a lot of students that were in that course just for personal benefit, just because maybe their kid had a sickness and they just wanted to learn more about nutrition, and they wanted their kid to do a more natural lifestyle, and they didn't know where to start. They went to that school as well. So I actually was in class with people who were doing it for so many different reasons. So yeah, so I just think that it's an amazing school, and if you are into that, you should definitely, and you've been thinking about that, you should definitely go
Hmm.
for it.
Yeah, and a lot of health problems nowadays, I think, are caused by a lot of artificial ingredients or just things that are needlessly complex, whether it's shampoo or food, even. All of it, I think
Yeah.
it kind of adds up, and you can end up with some weird health problems that don't necessarily need to be there. And it does make sense, like kind of taking one of these the get. Is it a certificate? Is it a license? Like what is it exactly that you got?
So it is a certificate. The first certificate is more, it's like a really, it's a bigger course. So you're going to school for, you're going to school for a year to do that course. And so that's the holistic health coaching certificate. And that's the certificate that if you want to like work into, for example, a practice as their health coach, they want to see that you actually have that
Mm,
certificate. The other courses that they have are usually add-ons. So it's like a niche certificate. If you are a health coach and you want to niche down to, for example, detox products or like teaching the importance of um, detoxing in the lifestyle, like that's what I did, then you would get that course as well. So it's sort of like that. So they're both certificates, but you need that. You the bigger one is the one that most people are gonna look for.
hmm.
Yeah,
I got you. Okay. And so some people they just sort of take it for their own betterment and they're not necessarily looking to make money off of that. So like what is an example of something that you think could really help somebody to know just in their everyday life?
So like I said, when I was in the school, there were people who were doing it for all different types of reasons. Um, I think a really good example is the real life example that I gave is where one of the students in that class was strictly there just because her son had autism and she wanted to give him better food
Mm,
and better a better diet because it would actually help him because he was way too sensitive to chemicals, as she said, and so that was necessarily not for professional. But now she gets to go on, a whole nother journey for her son. So I think that that's amazing and that's a really good story. And if you ever did want to use it for a professional, just having like your own personal story to fit your professional life is it makes it 10 times better. So if you feel like that you want to do it even for someone else, uh, I think that it's good to do as
hmm.
well.
I completely agree. All that makes sense. I think again a lot of problems can be solved by using kind of more natural ingredients and
Yeah.
healthier food. It's surprisingly complicated, I think, to live a healthy life in modern society. Obviously, there's a lot to be grateful for. We have indoor plumbing. We do have access to food that will keep you alive, but it may not be the healthiest food. And food deserts are a thing and I don't know. There, it's kind of complicated to. Everything seems sort of set up nowadays to be very consumable, addictive. The cheapest stuff tends to be the least healthy. And do you feel like your channel in some way is kind of? I mean, I'm sure you do feel this way, but it's sort of acting as a counter to that that sort of consumerist model of things that seems to have built up over the decades. And I don't know why it built up. I guess maybe it's a sort of maximization of profit thing. But it does seem counter to what is actually best. Sort of a meandering question, but an interesting one.
So you mean like the amount of products that I have to put on my channel, like more like on the
Do you feel like your products are like they're almost a counterculture in a way? Like it's a part of a movement, something that's actually really important. Like obviously you are making a living off of this, and that is really
Mhm.
awesome. But it seems like it goes a bit deeper for you as well, right? Like it's a part of something bigger, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely more than just selling products. I want people to know the um, importance of holistic living. And it's a very crazy that you just asked that because I actually am talking uh, with someone to help me kind of like really, really bring that into the brand and really, really like push that out because that's ultimately like my goal is that I want to show people that holistic products and like the holistic way of living can be like the norm because I mean it's starting to become more normal now, but
Mm-hmm.
for a while when I was starting out, especially a lot of people did think that it's just like a lot of stuff is a little bit weird, um, and just not the normal, and they're just more curious about it. So I would like for it to become more mainstream. To just to put it in like just to put it like a little bit shorter way of saying that. And that's what I intend to do with my channel and also with the brand. Just like, hey, this is not a weird thing to do. To just like, want to live more in alignment with how nature is supposed, how you're
Right.
supposed to be with
Mm-hmm.
nature. So I don't want to get too loosey goosey on it, but
No, I mean it
yeah.
all makes sense to me. I support all of this. I think it makes total sense. We kind of evolved with nature, and somewhat recently, the last 100, 200 years, we've sort of deeply separated from it, created a lot of artificial products, some of which are great, but there was definitely, I think,
Hmm.
a sort of mad dash to mass produce artificial things. And some of
Yeah.
them I work out. I don't know, like steel is pretty cool, but some things
Yeah.
are, I don't know, like sulfates and shampoo. It's
Hmm.
the processed food in general, I think, is a little overhyped and easy to get addicted to. And I think everything you're saying makes a lot of sense. I think now it's becoming less loosey goosey to believe and
Yeah.
kind of buy into this ideology or whatever you want to call it, a way of
Yeah.
life. It's I think it's becoming more normal, and I think that's a really good thing, and that's going to be good for everybody overall, including the environment, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that for for example, products that are not just hair products, just even those the things that you're able to consume. I think that it also helps other small businesses, like for example, going to smaller, you know, grocery stores or uh, farmers markets on the weekend and things like that. You're actually supporting more small businesses, and it also it just opens up a door to like way more stuff than what you were expecting. So maybe you go into the lifestyle just kind of like thinking about like your products, because that's how I did, just thinking about your products and things like that. But then when you start to actually live and put it into other areas of your life. So like, okay, now I want to do my food, and now I want to do my skincare and things like that. You start to like have to go into like more small businesses, because now today it's more in like Target, and like it's easier to find and more readily available. But for a long time, it's just like you were going to like smaller businesses and things like that. So I think that it opens up the door to a lot more. You're giving a lot more as
Mm-hmm.
well. Um, so I don't know. I just I just think that everyone can kind of benefit from it in their own way. You don't have to go all out, but it's really good to get involved some
Mm-hmm.
way.
Right, totally agree. And so, as far as next steps for you, like you were kind of talking about making these things more mainstream. Like, how does that fit in with your brand, your business? Like, what are your sort of new things on the horizon that you have going? If you're comfortable talking about such things.
Yeah, so there's I do have a lot of things in the work. I'm not really gonna talk about like more like the stuff that hasn't been solidified, but as far as like things that have been like more solidified, definitely going to be launching another product this year, which is really exciting. So uh, that's something that I've been working on. Also, we recently just, as you mentioned in the beginning, was featured with Vanity Fair. So I was able to, yeah, so I was able to talk with Vanity Fair with one of their editors and tell them about the brand. That's been really exciting. And also Vogue. So kind of just like getting in with Condé Nast all together and just, kind of exploring more, like I mentioned, networking opportunities has been like the theme of this year, just trying to build up brand awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I honestly, to be honest, I think that Nourish this year is going to be a lot more out than what it has been in the
Mm-hmm.
past, with with just focusing more on brand
Right,
awareness.
that makes sense because yeah, you already have a line that is doing well, and it makes
Hmm.
sense. The next step is just kind of as you said, bringing awareness to it. Seems nice and simple and not overcomplicating things. And sounds like there's still some primordial projects going on, but we'll save that
Hmm.
for the future perhaps. But I'm
Yeah.
stoked, and I saw you're like building your dream house. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just moved to a whole new town and a new state, and I was able to build my dream home. Something that I would always envision, but I just didn't know how to bring it into my reality. And the end of last year, I was able to actually. Well, it was actually all of last year, but I didn't talk about the project at all. But I was able to actually talk about it and bring it out. Um, that was something that I was working on all 2022.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow. So,
Yeah.
what do you have like a favorite part of your dream house? Because I think customizing a house, I mean, that's like straight out of The Sims, right? So, but this is real life. So, what is like
Yeah.
your favorite feature of your dream house, would you say?
Well, first of all, I absolutely love Sims. That's like my
Right
favorite
on.
video game. Actually, that's like a kept secret that I watch the Simmers on YouTube all the time. But my favorite part of my house is definitely going to be our family room. We were able to put a really nice fireplace that's in the back of my video sometimes if you guys have seen that. And that's actually my favorite part, as well as the kitchen, because I was able to customize that exactly the way that I wanted it to. So I wanted it to be. So those are my two favorite parts that I'm always in and I absolutely
Hmm.
love.
Right on.
Yeah.
I feel like the right
Mhm.
kitchen is huge. I've been in some kitchens that just don't work. I've been in ones that completely work, and oh my god, it
Yeah.
makes it. I mean, one, it makes it so so much easier to actually cook food at home. Because oh my
Exactly.
god. Anyway, I don't want to rant about bad kitchens here, but I'm stoked for you. I'm glad. Like designing your own kitchen. I mean, wow, that's a dream for sure. Hmm.
Yeah.
So what now that you have achieved the certain level of success, like what is your life like nowadays versus kind of before any of this started or got off the ground? Like what does your day-to-day look like and how is it different?
Yeah, so definitely, um, my life has actually done a whole flip from just moving into my house. So what I was doing last year is completely different from what I'm doing this year. So I would say all the years prior to this year, I was more so like trying to just figure out what I was doing at the time. Whereas now, you know, in this moment, I'm more um, I have it a little bit more figured out. I mean, we always have to adjust, but I'm more so like on the narrow path of okay, this is the goal and this is how I'm going to get there, and not just kind of like being all over the place. So I'm a lot more organized than what I used to be.
Mm-hmm. I I think that's huge. Getting organized, I think, when you're working for yourself is probably the hardest but most
um,
important part. Because it's the nice thing I think about having a boss is they kind of they break everything down. You know your projects when they're supposed to be done. But when you work for yourself, at least I in the past, for sure, I was worse at this. But you can kind of end up working whenever you want, and that's a gift and a curse.
yeah.
Like, do you like what did it take for you to get more organized? Like, do you have any tips of like sticking to deadlines or not forgetting all of the miscellaneous tasks that you have to do to keep things running smoothly. Because yeah, organization it's huge.
Yeah. So yeah, like I mentioned, I was all over the place at first. I actually had to, and I hope this doesn't sound too out of touch, but I had to hire an assistant. It kind of goes back to like building the
Hmm.
team, and I had to have someone build out my schedule for me because that's not my strong suit. My strong suit is being creative, and usually, from what my assistant told me, those two sometimes don't go together. Like more times than not, creative people are kind of all over the
So
place.
true. So unfortunately true.
Yeah. So she built out my schedule, and I tell you, when she built out that schedule, I am more I'm more like, okay, I know what I'm doing now because it's kind of hard to go through and build something that's gonna work if you're just all over the place.
Hmm.
So having that kind of like my schedule built out, like, okay, this day you film videos, this day you do this, and this time you have lunch. Like she has it that narrowed down as if I was working at an actual job. So that has been a lot of help to me, and that's what I was able to implement is a actual schedule. Now I don't actually follow it all the time. There are some days where things get out of whack, but I'm able to get back on track very easily because I have that schedule. So
Hmm.
yeah, if you're like me and you're all over the place, building out a schedule is something that could definitely
Hmm.
help.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In like, how did you find your assistant? I mean, it seems like your favorite way of finding employees was just to kind of meet people. Like you said, you would talk to your friends, and then who they
Mhm.
worked with, and you would kind of eventually work your way up to somebody. Like, I feel like the right assistant is really important, right? Because they need to kind of
Yeah.
understand and listen to you well, and then obviously be very organized themselves. So how do you find such a person? What advice do you have?
Yeah, so to be honest, I actually have been through two assistants. The first one I went through, and then the second one I've actually found through Instagram. So if you ever want to find um, workers and you kind of don't know where to start, there's a lot of people who are on Instagram and they have certain stuff in their bio. So, or they have their businesses in their bio. So if you go to the YouTube search and you type in like social media assistant or things like that, you're able to pull up a whole like list of, of people who are social media assistants. Now, the key is to find someone who offers that through their social media because just because they have in their bio doesn't mean that they're offering it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. I was able to find my assistant through there. She has her Instagram up um, where she helps people build out systems, and that's what her tag is in her Instagram. And I reached out to her, kind of didn't do it straight on at first. I was just liking some of her posts, and then she started to go onto my page, and I ended up going into her DMs, and I asked her if she was available, and yeah,
Mm-hmm. You slid into her DMs, and sounds very
yes.
organic, which is pretty perfect.
But some people do have a link. Uh, so sometimes you don't even have to go through their DMs. You can actually just click their link to their website and get them there, which is actually how I found my brand photographer as well. I went through her link and her
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. So yeah.
Right? Huh. Well, I'm considering this whole assistant thing. I feel like that would be helpful. I think for me, the hardest part of staying organized is I'll make a schedule for myself, but then I'll maybe not feel like doing something, and then I'll just sort of switch things around. Eventually I hit my deadlines. That's not really the problem. I just feel like I end up, um, I don't know, being too moody about it. Like, I don't feel like doing that today. I'll do this
Yeah.
instead, and then the other thing gets pushed to tomorrow, which kind of ends up. I don't know, it ends up getting done, but it feels more, I don't know, just more complicated than it needs to be. Like,
Yeah.
is that something you deal with, or have you kind of been able to, I don't know, when you had somebody else making the schedule, did you find that that happened less, or maybe this hasn't happened much to you at all?
No, that happened to me a lot in the past when I was working by myself. When I'm working with now that I'm working with others, it's kind of like I have to do certain things because they're, you know, messaging me like, okay, is this what's where are we at on this project and things like that. So before when it was just me and I was getting lost in my business a lot, just having too many hats to fill. Um, I definitely was like that, where I would just be like, you know what, I don't feel like dealing with that, so I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm gonna go do something
Mm-hmm.
else. And but now when I have kind of like a team to like lead, I can't really be that way. And so they're looking to me to give them, or their to follow up on projects and give them like uh, guidance on what to do to make sure the project comes out right. So I can't really do that anymore. So it depends on like where you are at in your business. There are some people who are really really good at like having systems and they're the CEO. And then there are some CEOs that are really good, founders that are really good at their creative style and leading the company, but they're not good at systems. And if you put them in charge of the systems, the business is gonna fail.
Right.
So I think finding out what your strong points are and your weak points are, and then the weak points, giving them to someone else so that you don't fall into the hole of, like a failing business or a business that is draining, is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I that makes total sense to me, and seems like you're really building this out in a smart, methodical way, and I'm stoked for you. That's huge. A lot of like, I guess my last question for you, because we're sort of wrapping up the hour here, is like being successful on YouTube or kind of online, it's more of a long game. I think a lot of people, they'll get a lot of attention at some point. They'll sort of reach a peak, and then they sort of falter somehow. But it seems like you've been able to build this into a business quite well. Like
Mm-hmm.
how like why do you think you were able to do that? Obviously launching your own products and sort of the authenticity of your content, I think, made it easy for you to sort of build things organically. Like, okay, I'm gonna sell this hair oil, and then you can talk about that in one of your videos, and it all feels very natural. But I think like consistent success on YouTube is somewhat rare. Like, do you think there's anything that we haven't touched on that added to your success?
Yeah, I think that, to be honest, I think that making sure that you stand out and that you're rememberable. So not kind of like copying and not, I wouldn't say not copying, but like trying to like have something that's unique to you. And yeah, I guess it would go to not copying. So a lot of creators kind of go to this thing where they try to be, other creators, when your audience is kind of there for you and they already have that creator that you're trying to mimic, or something like that. They already have that creator, so they're there for you. So in order to really keep it in something that can be done for the long haul, you have to make sure that you are standing out and that you're um, actually doing something that fits you and not kind of like following after others, because that will die out really quickly. And I've seen that happen to a lot of creators where they kind of like start as which we all start kind of like not knowing where we are supposed to go and where we're supposed to be. But like if you continue that throughout your whole entire YouTube career, it can be hard to sustain that. So I think that just sticking to who you are, and also kind of like having that unique thing about you that makes people want to come back to watch you and feel like that they can't get it anywhere else but at your channel.
Right. I think it can be appealing. There's like a temptation when you start getting noticed to see what is working and maybe getting more views than you are, and then to kind of like copy that or to sort of take on that style. On the one hand, I think it's necessary to evolve, but on the other, yeah, if you start sort of incorporating quote unquote smart marketing or styles in watering yourself down, I'd say that's not an authentic evolution, which it sounds like that's essentially what you're saying. And you just kind of have to, I guess, be aware of what you really want and kind of trust your own taste in things, and evolve with that, as opposed to a sort of calculated, methodical, well, this style of video is doing well in my niche, so I'm just going to copy that. And it seems like that is, correct me if I'm wrong, that's essentially the strategy that you have gone for. I mean, it's not even a strategy. It's just you kind of being you, sharing what you want to share.
Exactly. Yeah, that really does sum it up of what I was trying to say. Because a lot of times there's a lot of trends and things like that happen in my niche. And I don't even hop on them or follow them, but I still am able to grab my audience in. And if I was to like hop on certain trends, it would kind of like be outside of my brand. It wouldn't even be something that they would want to see from me, probably. So, yeah, it's just really important to stay, you can try different things, but make sure that you stay true to your brand. That's important in like all aspects of having a business and branding. You have to stay true to your brand so that your audience is not confused.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So true. So true. Well, there you have it, everybody. Shawnta's Way. Check out her channel. You will not be disappointed. Her product line is called Nourished, and also it's all natural. It works. It's good stuff. And yeah, check it out. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Shawnta, for being here.
Thank you.
Later, everybody.